And we welcome you to our FBN at 25 Personal Wealth Management webinar. I'm Sharon Bansa, Head of Marketing, Retail Marketing, and I'll be your host for this program. With me, we have Amango members as panelists, and we also have a guest host, which is Dr. Suzy Aku Puplampu. We have Mr. Victor Asante, our MD. We would also have Mr. Semir Lamde, our CFO, join us. We have Mr. Mohammed Ozama, our CRO, join us. We would have Mr. Zubike Obi, Group Head Business, who would also join us on this webinar. We also have Madam Rachel, Additional Country Head Technology and Service, who's also going to join us on this webinar. We have Mrs. Grace Isaac Ai, our Head Treasurer, Mr. Francis Nyameche, our Head of Compliance, and then Mr. Theophilus Akom, our Head Legal. We also have Mr. William Nikwe, our Head of Commercial Banking, who would also join us this afternoon to have a discussion on what we mean by personal wealth and wealth management. Good afternoon once again, and welcome panelists to our personal wealth management webinar for today. Okay, so we'll kickstart the program by, I have with me Dr. Suzy Aku Puplampu, who will be my guest host for this webinar. Dr. Suzy Aku Puplampu is the CEO and lead fund manager of OctaneDC Limited, a fund management and investment advisory firm regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC of Ghana. Dr. Puplampu is OctaneDC MD CEO. She provides investment advisory services to individuals, institutions, pension funds, and collective investment schemes. As a finance and investment professional, Dr. Suzy has in-depth knowledge and experience working in the finance industry in Ghana, spanning 20 decades. Wow. For the greatest part, Dr. Suzy's professional life has been dedicated to investment banking and fund management, accounting, financial reporting, and management consulting. In the process, she has led various wealth management, finance, and administrative teams to manage funds worth over 337 million Ghana cedis. That's equivalent to $58 million. For her governance engagements, Dr. Suzy served as the chair of Galaxy Balanced Fund Limited and a board member of OctaneDC Limited. Currently, she serves on the board of Cycon HR and also serves as the independent corporate trustee on the Pension and Provident Fund of 2 corporate boards. She's also a facilitator for the newly set up Ghana Institute of Securities and Investment Teaching Portfolio and Wealth Management. She writes on finance and other social issues. And we have features of her in Business and Financial Times as well. We are so happy to have Dr. Puplampu with us. And this afternoon, she's going to give us in-depth knowledge about wealth management. Good afternoon, Doctor, and welcome to FBN Bank at 25. We're 25 years, and this is one of the programs that we wish to embark on, so we can have knowledge and in-depth on wealth management with our colleagues and as well as our esteemed premium customers. So good afternoon once again, and thank you for coming on board with us.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you, Enoch, for arranging this conversation, which coincides with your anniversary as well. So from my end, I say congratulations and happy birthday to First National Bank, Nigeria. Congratulations once again. I'm happy to be here to join in the conversation during your celebration. I understand there was a session with staff this morning as part of your celebrations, and this is an add-on as well. Share some insights. Sharon, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can. Yes.
To share some insights on some heavy issues that most of the time we put aside till we are pushing closer to retirement. And the conversation is on managing personal wealth.
Yes,
When,
please.
when it comes to issues about wealth, most of the time when we hear the word wealth, everyone assumes it's for the wealthy. It's for those who have a lot more. It's for those who have a lot more riches. When I shared this flyer with some of my friends, a number of them said this is not a conversation for them because they don't have anything.
Okay.
One said, let me accumulate the wealth first. When I'm done, then I'll think about managing it. One other person said, this is not me. It's too far away from me. I don't have enough now to begin to think about wealth. But we all make the wrong assumptions when it comes to wealth management. If you're on this call today, you're already a wealthy person. Our wealth is accumulated in our knowledge, our skills, and our behavior. It has nothing to do with our bank balances. It has nothing to do with what we physically see around us, but it has everything to do with who we are. So I want everybody who is on this call to be very open-minded about the conversation we'll have this afternoon. It has nothing to do with the fact that we don't have any money. It has everything to do with the fact that you are positioning yourself to begin to think about life beyond just living it. So I'll share some few thoughts with you. And at the end of the day, I want to believe that a lot of us will begin to see personal wealth as something they have to intentionally begin to think about on a daily basis. Personal wealth. This is the point where I would have loved to pause to hear some few people tell me what they think when they hear about personal wealth. What is personal wealth? Very briefly, personal wealth is about our personal assets. Personal assets are what we surround ourselves with. And when we talk about personal assets here, we are looking at net assets. The accountants on the call, I'm sure you know what net assets are. Most of the time we forget about the liabilities we are holding on to, and we think about just the asset. A personal assets here is looking at net assets. In addition to that, it's personal possessions. Personal possessions, everything we have, everything we are wearing now on this call, our clothes, our shoes, our jewelry, everything in our homes, everything we surround ourselves with, personal possessions. If you ever have an insurance company come over to your home to work on home insurance for you, they have a long list, checklist of information you have to provide on every single item in your home, furniture, kitchen utensils, every single item. Those are your personal possessions, your collectibles, your art pieces, your plants, everything that you have. Very big on personal wealth is inheritance. Most of the time, a number of people maintain this position. My wealth is mine. Let me spend it all before I leave. It is a very wrong position. We must all learn to leave inheritance. If for any reason our parents, our grandparents did not leave any inheritance for us, it's not a good point for us to say we must spend everything on ourselves. So we will not leave anything for anyone. So personal wealth has a lot to do with our personal assets, personal possessions, and inheritance. I want to believe this is a good point for us all to begin to engage. So personal wealth has nothing to do with your bank balance. So if you don't have 5,000 cedis cash in your account this afternoon, it's not the reason why you should tune off. It's a good place for you to remain alert, for us to go through this session. What will I be looking at in the next 45 minutes to an hour as we engage on this call? At some point, I'll pause and ask a few people to unmute to help with the contribution. If you have any questions along the way, please drop it in the chat box. I'll pick it up and I'll also respond to it accordingly. I like to ask a lot of questions whenever I engage, especially on wealth management or money matters. Most of the time, we need a wake-up call, each and every one of us. Life is beyond just waking up and going to work every morning and going back home in the evening. Life is beyond that. So the wake-up call, the question I have for every one of us on this call is, why do we need to consider personal wealth? To respond to that, I'll look at the areas of engaging with a financial planner. As I mentioned, life is beyond us. It is giving back. So we'll look at building a sense of purpose whilst we remain on this earth. Then we'll look at the details when it comes to personal wealth, what we can accumulate under personal wealth. When we create the wealth, it must be managed. So we'll look at personal wealth creation and management. We'll look at some physical and financial assets examples and what it means to have a wealth manager or to go into wealth management. So the bigger question for me, for all of us in this call, Sharon, Enoch, and everybody else from the bank and your guests and clients on the call, beyond personal wealth, what's next? When we accumulate the wealth, what's next? And that's the bigger conversation, and that is where generational wealth comes in, wealth sustenance. We'll look at some issues around that. Now, for every staff of the bank who is looking at taking private wealth management on a bigger scale as a career, we'll look at some issues when it comes to onboarding a PWM clients, when it comes to selecting assets and managing it for them. The bigger conversation here is maintenance. That is the only way you can retain the clients, and the value creation addition. And of course, we'll conclude on some heavy issues and any lessons that anyone would have picked from here. Sharon, can I move on?
Yes, please.
All right, okay. So this is how I want to start. Why is it important for us all to consider personal wealth? Why is it important? Whatever comes to your mind now, don't think too deep. Just drop your responses in the chat box. Whatever comes to mind now, just go to the chat box and drop your responses. Why do we need to consider personal wealth as an individual? Why do we think? I want to believe that as a bank, the bank is always looking at its net worth. So the bank has a reason for doing that on an annual basis, sometimes quarterly and half yearly. So as individual, why is it important for us to consider personal wealth? Just drop your responses. I'll pick it up to support some of my arguments along the way. If you ask me from where I sit and from where I'm engaging you from, the reason why it's important for us to consider personal wealth is to know our net worth. It's important. When you know your net worth, is the reference point for growing. If you know how much you are worth at every critical point in your life, it helps with the next decision making. A reason why businesses go through budgeting every year and they tell themselves we want to grow by 30%, the next year want to grow by 50% in the next year. So if you know your net worth at every point in time, it is a good point to determine how far you want to go. When you know your personal wealth, it ensures financial well-being. Well-being is not just about physical well-being. Well-being, it's beyond that. I know that when we have money, when we have wealth, we have peace of mind. You are broke, yes, cash trap, but you know where to get the next liquidity from. So when you know your personal wealth, and when you consider personal wealth, and when you have personal wealth on your mind every time, it helps to ensure your financial well-being. So if this is something that a number of us were not thinking about, please, after this call, just ensure that you engage yourself every now and then to consider how much you are worth, because it helps in your financial well-being. I love quotes, and I would like to begin or continue by saying that every decision or decisions about our life and living it must be planned with timelines. Every decisions about our life and living it must be planned with timelines. To create and sustain wealth, this must be an intentional act. It won't happen with just wishing for it. It won't happen. It won't happen with just admiring somebody else who has it. No. You must begin to put some intentional actions in place with specific timelines. That is the only way it will happen. And I'm sure we all know that nothing will happen without a plan. And when I'm talking about plans here, I'm not talking about plans that just reside on our minds and in our dreams. But I'm talking about plans that we have taken time to write down. When you write down your plans, you feel closer to them because it's easy to refer to them. So for the next aspirations for each and every one of us, let's begin to write down our plans, especially where it has to do with our personal wealth. I want to move on with the conversation with engaging a financial planner. I'm sure a number of us have heard about this before, but we haven't taken the time to look further into it. The journey begins with conversation with a financial planner when it comes to personal wealth management. Financial planners or FPs, they usually are resources or individuals that provide financial insights for individuals, families, and institutions, guiding them over a long period in terms of their own financial aspirations and what they want to achieve in the future. So they are positioned as consultants or coaches, and conversations with financial planners don't happen in a day and end in the day. No. Sometimes it could even take about a year before the engagement process begins. It's usually a lifetime relationship with an individual that begins to guide you when you are single and you are not married and you have just started work. When you get married, you go back. When you begin to have children, you go back. When you begin to have grandchildren, you go back. So it's usually a long-term relationship with an individual who is spending time with you to understand your financial needs at a particular point in time and provide insight into how you should be guided into the future. So an FP helps in projecting personal financial plan over several years. Very long-term relationship. And every solution that is provided for you is based on your personal profiling. What is good for Sharon may not be good for Enoch. So every solution that is provided for you is based on your personal profiling. And personal profiling can really take a long time to be completed. One critical result or solution you get out of a financial planner is an assessment of your personal balance sheet and Pnl accounts. Most of the time when we hear about balance sheet and Pnl, we all go, our mind goes to organization. No, as individuals, you should maintain your own balance sheets. It's the only way you know your net worth. You should look at your income and expenditure on a monthly basis. It's the only way you can manage your finances. You must know whether you are running a deficit or a surplus every now and then. So I have a template to share for us to go through and see what sort of information we can have on our personal balance sheets and Pnl accounts. The results that you get out of engaging with a financial planner is a comprehensive financial plan to guide your future financial needs. A comprehensive financial plan to guide your future financial needs. Most of the time, we want to believe we can do it by ourselves. When that happens, the result is that there are delays in decision making. We never get around to do it. So sometimes it's useful to refer to people who have the skills to help you to arrive at something concrete for you to hold on to in the years that are ahead. When it comes to financial planning, the plan goes beyond just you. Remember, I mentioned wealth sustenance, I mentioned inheritance, I mentioned generational wealth. The plan goes beyond you to include your family and to support your personal and professional growth. At every point in our life, we must keep an eye on our personal and professional growth. And all this involves a lot of financial engagement. So what plans do we have in place to support our professional careers, to support our CPDs, to support anything that can help us to grow personally and professionally? Engaging with a financial planner is a critical element for retirement planning. Retirement planning is a conversation on its own. I won't touch on it at all on this call. Most of the time, we all see 60 years as very, very, very far away from us. But whatever you do, 60 years will come, 65 years will come, depending on where you work. You have to retire at some point. When it comes to retirement planning, the rule is that for your first job, you begin to think about retirement with your first job. So every decision you make about retirement should start with your first income. So Jerry, who has joined the bank as a national service person at age 21, should not feel that 60 years is too far away, that it will not come. So Jerry will delay in his decision making when it comes to retirement planning. But some of these reflective points are things you get out of engagement with people who are skilled or knowledgeable to guide you. So I recommend to each and every one of us on this call, if we haven't thought about it before, please let's begin to put some action into it. That's important for us to speak with others in helping grow our wealth. A number of times when I make this point, because it's really a new area for us, when it comes to investment in our part of the world, all we do is that we hear the stories. This institution is paying so much. This institution is giving 40%, 30%, 25%. These products, you can take money around one time in a year and get 100%. So those are the reflective points for us to make decisions for investments. But it is the wrong approach. You don't invest because somebody has invested and is getting certain returns. Because we don't ask the hard questions. When did the person start? And what has the experiences been? So the best approach is to engage before you take the decision to invest. If you are presented with 5 mutual funds, why are you deciding on one and not the other? Is it because one is returning something that you like more than the other? The best place is to engage before. So when it comes to professionals that we can reach out for conversations on our finances and investments, we have what we call the certified financial planners. We have a lot of them in our parts of the world. This is where networking is very important. At every stage in our life, we must know people. We must have people we can reach out to for information. And we must also position ourselves for people to know us. But networking is not just one way, you knowing people. People must know you as well. So if you don't know who a financial planner, it is asking. When you ask the right people, you'll be directed. So we have certified financial planners who are positioned to guide us in our financial decisions. Very obviously in our market, we have licensed investment advisors. These advisors are licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now in Ghana, if you want to practice as an investment advisor, you need to be licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And before you can go through this license, as I speak to you now, you must go through the educational part at the Ghana Institute of Securities and Investments. So the Ghana Investment and Securities Institute, the GISI. At the Institute now, there are two parts you can enroll on for 4 levels of certifications. One is the local route, which is the GISI, and the other is the collaborative route with CC, the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investments. The collaborative routes, once you are certified, you can practice in any country that CC UK is represented in. So now the program is officially open. It's a year old. If you want to practice as an investment advisor, you need to go through the courses, 4 levels. Then you are certified by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Then you can begin to practice in the markets. In addition to the individual advisors, the advisors don't manage funds. They only provide advice. We have fund managers. Fund managers manage funds. And I'm making a point of emphasis that the reference is fund managers with capacity to provide investment advisory. So you must be very selective of who you engage for resources. Very close to us are professionals such as accountants. I'm sure the bank has a lot of accountants, chartered accountants, and you can have conversation with during lunchtime. You sit by them, you share your story. One thing about financial planning is that you have to be very open about your income and expenses. It's the only way somebody can help you with solutions. Don't hold back onto information. A number of us don't want the world to know what we have. So we don't share. If you don't share, you can't get the appropriate or recommended solutions. But speak with accountants, financial analysts. You have several of them, whatever route they are on, CFA, CFM, there are several of them. Find them, speak with them. If you can't find them, approach the professionals, financial planners. You will pay something for their service, but I tell you, what you get out of it outweighs what you pay. So for anyone who is wondering who I can talk to with my recommendation, please, these are the resources available to you. So begin to engage and get appropriate solutions for your needs going forward. I mentioned the need for us to maintain our own balance sheets. So if you are wondering, what can I have on my personal balance sheet? Please, we have it on the screen. And I'm sure a number of us surround ourselves with all these assets already. But when we are asked how much we are worth, we are unable to tell because we don't put it on paper. When it comes to personal balance sheets and the assets, we have residential properties. And these are the properties we are living in, we are staying in. Most of that, we always look at the value of the property without considering the household items in there. But valuation is about the hard and soft. Everything in there, you add it to it. If I ask anybody on the floor right now, where you stay, your own personal home, how much is it worth? Is this something we can easily tell? But an exercise we must do. And I know as Ghanaians, as Africans, we like to surround ourselves with properties. So we don't only have what we are living in, but we have others we have built, we are renting, as well. So let's say you have a second property, which is on rental. Whoever you are on this call, you can ascribe any currencies to these figures. You can add cedis, you can add naira, you can add dollars, pounds, whichever way you want to look at it. Just claim it, and it will happen for you. So let's say the first property A is worth $1.5 million. The second one is worth $550,000. And then you have a third one. We like properties. So you have a third one that is valued at $400,000 or cedis. We are in Ghana, so let me just say cedis. In addition, you have another one in your village that you are struggling to complete. It's under construction. It's not done yet at the foundation level. You just raise the blocks. Let's say that is also valued at 250,000 cedis at this current value. In addition to all of this, we still surround ourselves with physical assets such as lands, and we don't just have one, we have two, three, scattered everywhere. All we need is someone to tell you that there's a land opportunity somewhere, we grab it. So let's say you have land one, 850,000. The second one is at 750,000. So these are your fixed assets, assets that you can't move around. They are where they are. We move to our current assets, which is a longer list. And the current assets, depending on who you are, you may have some investments, financial investments. Let's say you have one on the stock market, long term, or in a private equity venture, long term, and it's worth 150,000 cedis. You have some medium to short term. When it comes to investment, the recommendation is to spread as much as possible. So you have medium to short term to meet your medium to short term needs, 80,000 cedis. Insurance is something we underplay until it becomes so late. National health insurance is not sufficient for us, especially when we are approaching pension. What we need is private health insurance, but we underplay that until it's too late. So assuming you are the good guy, so you have private health insurance, and it's valued at 250,000 cedis. You have one for life, you have one for health, you have one for life, 150. We have cars. Usually, husband has one, wife has one, children have one. So we have about 2 or 3 cars in our home. The first one is 348, the second one is 261. These are just estimated figures. You have to do this exercise by yourself to know your net worth. We are looking at pensions. Now pensions in Ghana is in tiers, and it's instrumental for us to have it across all the tiers, because SNIT tier 1 is not sufficient for pensions. In addition to SNIT, if you know what your lump sum is, and we should all know what our lump sums is by now, it's on our statement that we receive every quarter. What you get from SNIT now as a lump sum is stated there, you should know it. What you get on a monthly basis is computed as you approach your pension year, but you can also know. So let's say your tier 2, the private pension fund manager, is valued now at 125,000. Your tier 3, which is your personal pension, where your provident fund goes to, is 45,000. In addition to that, you're also maintaining a personal pension plan with pension fund administrators, and it's also valued at 38,000. So you see, pension is not just about SNIT. Pension is across board, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. In addition to that, you have your personal pension. You must have money in all of them. Assuming the bank provides end of service benefits, you have worked the bank for 25 years. Your terminal paycheck on a monthly basis is 8,000 cedis. You multiply that by 25, if that is the formula for their ESB. So the expectation is that you have 200,000 cedis at the time you are leaving. If the bank also has provident funds, an in-house one that they have not converted to tier 3, but it's an in-house one, you know how much you have in there. We have multiple bank accounts. Try and remember every bank account you have. Whatever cash you have in there, you drop all of them under your current assets. So this guy, Jerry, do we have a Jerry on the call? Jerry's total asset is at 6 million Ghana cedis, about $1 million. So if Jerry is 40 years old, we all say life begins at 40, right? So Jerry should be asking himself, 40 years worth $1 million. This is just asset. We haven't looked at our liabilities yet. It is something that excites you to continue to wake up every morning and go to work. So it's important that we personally undergo this exercise. And the recommendation is that we do it every year. Businesses prepare their accounts at the end of the year. We can also go through the exercise and go through populating our net worth to see what we have at the end of every year. Now let's look at our liabilities. Remember I said we are looking at your net worth. So it's not just the assets, we are looking at the liabilities as well. Long-term liabilities, we have loans, we take them. Mortgage is a big one because we keep paying and we keep paying and we keep paying. Let's assume this gentleman has 5 more years to go. And his mortgage averages 2,500 cedis every month. And the balance outstanding for him is 150,000 cedis. His property that I mentioned in the village is still under construction. You need money to complete it. So let's say he needs about 300,000 cedis to complete the property. You are on a car loan. You have 3 more years with the bank, and you pay 3,800 cedis every month on your car loan. How much is outstanding? You indicate it there, 136,800. In addition to car loans, you have personal loan from the bank. It could be welfare loan, it could be school fees loan, it could be anything. You have 5 more years to go, and you pay 700 cedis on that loan. So the balance is 42,000 for this year. In addition to the money from the loan from your bank, you have taken a loan from another bank, 20,000 cedis. You have also guaranteed a student loan. For those of us who guarantee student loan, please ensure those loans are cleared before you proceed on pension or you have issues. So you have guaranteed a student loan, and the loan, it's 75,000. If it's not a student loan, you have guaranteed for someone that has taken a facility from somewhere, and the amount is 75,000. So these are liabilities that you surround yourself with, and you must always know. It's very helpful. Let's look at short-term liabilities. So these are the long-term ones. Let's look at the short-term liabilities. Medical bills, it hits you like something when you are totally not prepared, especially when you don't have private health insurance. So you have a huge bill on a life-threatening case. Let's assume it's about 377,000. Legal bills, somehow at a certain point in your life, you can't help it. You find yourself, you're either dragging someone to court or someone is dragging you to court for one reason or the other. 150,000 cedis. It's a bill you must think about. On the side, you have taken monies from individuals, your friends, your buddies, your family members, 60,000, you have to pay it back. You are looking at your home, you're looking at your kitchen, your living room, your bathroom, you need to do some home improvements. You need to change the electrical, the plumbing, 160,000. School fees is big. If you're not paying fees for yourself, you're paying for your children, you're paying for the extended family. So school fees is big on the agenda, 150,000. So you're looking at a total liability of what? 1.6 million. If you net this off your assets of 6 million and above, we are looking at a net worth of 4.4, which is less than $1 million. So if you have been dreaming that life begins for you at 40, and at 40 you want to be worth $1 million, there are a lot of hard questions you must begin to answer along the way. What do you do to ensure that you have some wealth surrounding you at that point? I think it's a good point for me to pause very briefly and take any question that anyone may have on this template before I move ahead. If you have any question, please feel free and unmute and just speak up. We'll hear you. Somebody says, I'm seeing more of, okay. If you're not seeing me, then it's the way you have positioned your screen. You are projecting me and not projecting the screen. That's why you can't see the screen. So, Bernard, can you see the screen? Bernard watch. Can you see the screen?
He actually can now, yes.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have any questions from the panelists or from the attendees? Anyone, please unmute and ask your question if anyone has any question, or I should just move on. No question?
Yes, please. I think we can move along.
Okay, all right. I hope I'm making some sense and I'm working.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm making some energies, out of everybody who is listening to me now.
Yes, please.
Okay, so now I want to look at our Pnl accounts. What happens to us on a monthly basis? The balance sheet is an annual reflection, but the Pnl is a monthly reflection. Our income, beyond our salary, what else do we have? Side job, what other income do we have? So we have a paid salary at 15,000. This is still Jerry, because we're looking at Jerry's balance sheets. Jerry has a side income and he earns 2,500 cedis a month from a side job. Maybe he teaches or he lectures over the weekend. His property B that I mentioned in his balance sheets, his income is 1,500 cedis on a monthly basis. Jerry has a number of investments across board. He earns 2,000 cedis on a monthly basis as interest or dividends, whichever way. So his total income every month is at 21,000 cedis. So sometimes it's not enough to just look at your paycheck and tell yourself, oh, this is all I earn in a month. No, what else are you earning on the side? With a total income of 21,000, let's look at our expenditure. Utilities is high. You can't run away from it. Everything about our household. Utility, food, internet, cell phone, cable TV, home insurance, if we have any, mortgage, vehicle loan, personal loan. Remember, we mentioned all these long-term loans on our balance sheets. Fuel, tithes, investments. Investments should actually be the first line item on our expenditure list. Investments. A number of us don't have investment as part of our expenses. We have investment coming after our expenses. And most of the time, by the time we are done, we don't have anything to invest. So you always have this. I don't have enough because I have spent everything. Charity, donation. If you do something on a regular basis for a good cause, 1,000 cedis. And then household support, your security, your gardeners, your cleaners, and all. So out of your total income of 21,000, if you reflect very well, you are spending almost everything, 20,960. Your surplus is very minimal. Sometimes you even go into deficits and you ask yourself how you managed. I guess we are all magicians. Somehow we are able to go through the month. But it's a good point to know how much you spend on a monthly basis and what you can begin to do. When it comes to increasing your net worth, there are only two things that you can do to improve your net worth. One is to increase your investments, and two is to reduce your expenses. One is to increase your investment on your balance sheets, and the other is to reduce your expenses in your Pnl account. So if you did not hear anything at all on this call, please note those 2 points down. Reduce one and increase the other one. Your position should change. Now let's move to a deeper conversation. Now we have seen the figures. We know what the recommendation is for us. That on an annual basis, we put the figures down to know where we are. This is by William Attaward, an American writer, that before we quit, we must try. Before we retire, we must save. Before we die, we must give. I believe these points are a good foundation for us to build a sense of purpose on this earth. We can't give up when it comes to investment on building our wealth because we keep saying we don't have enough. We must try. Just try it and you surprise yourself. And we can't keep saying we don't have enough, that we only save when we have enough. No, you only save because you have money. So you must save before you retire. And there's a conversation about giving back. So what do you do with your wealth once you have it? I have a question, but I'll go to the question later. Let me just take the screen off 1 second. Right. So let's look at the deeper conversation about life. I'm sure we all know, we all have one life. You know? So what are we doing with that life on this earth? It all begins with knowledge. We need to stop saying that we have no knowledge in investments. We need to stop saying that we have no knowledge when it comes to wealth and wealth management. You can acquire it. The fact that you're a science student, the fact that you are in IT does not mean you must not gain knowledge. The only way you can make good investment decisions for you, yourself, and your family is to have some knowledge. So everything about wealth creation begins with knowledge. You must seek it, ask, read, learn about it, go back to school, whatever you need to do, get the knowledge. And everything about life and living it thrives on motivation. And lots of us are not able to motivate ourselves because our lives are full of wahales. So we are too tired to even motivate ourselves, to get up to do anything meaningful for ourselves. If you don't have the energy to do it, please be happy for someone else who is succeeding and ask them how they are doing to succeed. If you admire someone for what they are doing, you admire them for the wealth they are accumulating or the way they begin to talk about investment. Get close to them. Be happy for them. You'll be surprised that will be the source of your motivation to get up and begin to do something for yourself. So you can only hold on to a purpose on this earth if you thrive on motivation for whatever you do. And we must also know and remember every time that whatever happened to us is shaped by what we believe in, our values, and our personal code of conduct. When it comes to issues about integrity, where do you stand? When it comes to issues about trust, where do you stand? Everything in this world is built around trust and integrity. So your own personal codes of conduct will inform what you engage in as an individual. Let's look at wealth creation and management, because a number of us are not too sure what to put together for that to be called wealth. And when it is gathered or collected, how is it managed? An American news anchor, Jomon, said, "A simple fact that is hard to learn is that the time to save money is when you have money." So all staff of FBN Bank, the time to save is now because we all have money. So the time to save is where we have money, when we are in active employment. So let's remember that as well. When it comes to wealth creation and management, there's some few considerations we must always know. The wealth creation starts with savings, the discipline about savings. It's very important. And the earlier we start, the better. So for all parents who are on this call, please let's get the savings habits into our children. They must start early. When they start, it stays with them. Must always know to put something aside. And the formula is very simple. Whatever comes through your hands, 10% must be put aside. If you don't know, through awareness, or you haven't observed anyone that the person is an active saver, please, through self-discipline, you should be able to put something away. It's always helpful. A number of people survived the challenges with COVID because they had some savings. So it's important to save. We can't underestimate that. We must also know, and this savings idea, it's all around the discipline with little drops. Little drops. Petita, petit l'oiseau fait son nid. I think that is how it is said in French. Little by little, the bird makes its nest. So little drops. When it comes to savings, the next step is with investments. You build a discipline and you go into active investment. But the whole thing about investment is consistency. The investment must be consistent. You don't start and stop. An investment is influenced by capital or cash outflows or inflows. And investment decisions are also supported by the tenure of the investment. Usually we say short, medium, long term. When it comes to investment, the decisions are usually based on our age. So it is not enough for us to begin chasing investment opportunities when we don't understand certain critical elements in it. What may be good for Sharon on this call may not be good for Josephine because their age gaps are totally different. So our age is a critical influence as to what type of investments we can hold. Very critical is our investment objectives. Investment objectives. Are we looking for growth or what we are putting away? Are we looking for income? Or we just want capital preservation? We just want whatever we are putting away to stay, no risk. Let it just stay like that. So all these decisions will help in what can be put aside for you. Very critical is our risk profile. Some of us can't take risk at all, zero risk. Some of us, we are able to take some significant risks. So our appetite towards risks also influences the type of investment we can do for ourselves or recommend. And everything about risk is also based on our attitude on life. For some people, they don't see themselves beyond 60 years. So they will say, well, when I go on pension, that is it, I'm going to die. So that's their attitude towards life. For some, they see themselves hitting 100. So they are doing things that will keep them going beyond pension. So every decision about investments depends on our attitude on life as well. So let's keep this in mind as we begin to go through the reflections. Our wealth is built around several assets, a point I made earlier on. Diversification is very key, and that is one of the recommendations we give as wealth managers or fund managers. Diversification is very key. So we'll look at some financial and physical assets we can put together in our investment portfolios. When it comes to physical assets, which are tangible assets, we can see them, we can feel them. Examples in there include land, buildings and its content. If we have businesses, manufacturing businesses, or any operations that we have, the machineries, tools, plants, cars, we have our gold, our silver, any other tangible assets, collectibles, paintings, plants, anything we like to collect, watches, shoes. Some people don't sell their cars, so they are collectibles for them. Anything you have that you have some personal affinity towards, your clothes, your jewelry, your furniture, these are your physical assets. Where we are very relevant when it comes to fund management is financial assets. That is available to all of us because we have the structured markets to support it. We have the capital markets, we have the money markets, we have the alternative markets as well. So when it comes to financial assets, which are intangible, we are looking at your cash balances, bank balances, your Momo balances, cash in your pockets, cash at the bank, forex. If you have equities, we are looking at that. If you are running your own business, we look at valuations. If you are bought into bonds, government bonds, corporate bonds, treasury bills, mutual funds. We have over 44 mutual funds in Ghana now. There's no reason why you are not holding on to one or two of them. Insurance is very big. Derivatives, alternative investments. So these are some of the assets you can look at when it comes to personal wealth. Begin to ask yourself some critical questions. What do I have? Where do I have them? It is good to know what you have and where you have them. When it comes to investment options, the typical things that we recommend as investment advisors or fund managers or wealth managers is equities. And we have the stock market. You can invest in it through the brokers. If you have your own startup, private equity, you're starting your own business. Fixed income instruments, we have several of them in our markets, several of them. The bonds market is so active these days. Real estate, cash or forex, of course, commodities. Now we have the commodities exchange as well. So there's a lot we can do when it comes to wealth management. These are usually long-term investing for you because creating wealth, it's over the long period. So these are some of the investment options. The earlier slide was speaking on the particular assets you can select. These are the options we recommend to wealth management clients. In addition, we have the mutual funds, which you can invest in. These are indirect ownership in a fund. We also have a number of unit trusts in the country as well. We have the REITs, the real estate investment trusts. We have derivatives, depending on where you are and what you position yourself. We have insurance, we have private equity. Of course, we also have speculative investments, day trading hedge funds. These are usually reserved for sophisticated investment because they are risky, but at the same time, the returns can be very gorgeous. So these are options that are available. Sometimes you don't know about these opportunities until you are aligned with a wealth manager or a fund manager. So the recommendation is that you spread across 10 assets. It's a decent spread for effective diversification. You don't want to spread too thinly. You don't want to just crowd your investment as well. So 10 is like holding 10% in everything. When one goes down, you have 90% to support the loss in the other. So let's think very broadly when it comes to what we can have in terms of investments. It is usually not good to invest all in one instrument. We must be very aware of investment risk. The point I keep making is that once you move your money from your current account or savings account into an investment, you must be ready for the risk. Investment is largely about returns, but it comes with risk as well. So you must understand the risks underlying every investment you do. It is the only way you wake up one morning and the company you have bought into on the stock exchange at 10 cedis is now 5 cedis per share. You have lost 50%. You must be ready for that risk and understand why that happened and what you need to do to get the correction back. You must understand the risk. So some of the general risks that we inform our clients about: market risk. Some you can't do anything about them. Some are totally out of your control. Interest rates, you can't influence it because it's determined. Inflation, you can't influence it. Liquidity, you want your money now, you can't get it now. You must understand why you can't get it now and why you must wait for 2 months, 3 months, a year to get it. You must understand all that. Currency risk, depreciation, credits, shortfall. You're expecting so much, but you can't get all that out. Equity capital diversification, either you have over-diversified or you haven't diversified well. Of course, institutional risk and investment manager risk as well. So we must understand every risk we are exposing ourselves into. Creating wealth is exciting, but it's a lot of patience to grow the wealth. So we must be very patient when it comes to wealth creation. Now we have created the wealth. We know what it means to manage it because we have spoken about diversification. When we have it all, how do we sustain the wealth? Because you don't want to gather the wealth and in no time you lose it or you don't have any purpose for it. The purpose of our existence is to positively affect others with our gifts. Chinonye Chidloit, I think that's the name, Chidole. Apologies if I didn't mention it right. So the wealth must be seen beyond us. That's the beauty in wealth creation, that you are impacting life with your wealth. I love Richard Tembler so much. He has rules on everything. Everything about life, Richard has rules on it. So this is his rules on wealth. And it is good for us to know, so we don't feel guilty thinking about the wealth. When it comes to wealth, he recommends that we must think wealthy, which means we must know the difference between price and value. If you are driving by Cantonment and you stop by the street artist and you ask him how much is painting it, you are attracted to the particular piece. He tells you 250 cedis. In your estimation, that painting should be worth much more. So do you continue to argue out the price or you pick it and you walk away? Because you are seeing something in that piece that the street artist is not seeing. Your plan is to add value to that piece and make some more money out of it. That is how you think about wealth. Think beyond the price of what you are paying for. The point about engaging financial planner, think beyond the consulting fee you have to pay, and think alongside the value you will get out of that conversation. The 2% management fee to the fund manager, think beyond that fee and rather think about the value that fund manager will create for you. He also states that we should not just end with thinking about it. We must get the wealth, get wealthy. And the only way to get wealthy is to have a plan. If you have the plan, you must be determined. And the determination is influenced by our action. So it is not enough to just think about the wealth and do nothing about it. You need a plan and be determined to see the plan through our actions. And when you get wealthy, please get wealthier. Don't just stay because now you have arrived. No, get wealthier. Getting wealthy is checking your balance sheet annually, a point I have made. You have checked the balance sheets. You're worth 200,000 cedis this year. You want to challenge yourself. By the end of the year, I want to be worth 250,000 cedis. That is getting wealthier. So check your balance sheet on an annual basis. And please, stay wealthy. Don't get too broke or broke. Staying wealthy means putting something aside for old age. The point I made about thinking about retirement with your first job, it will come. So during retirement, how do you stay wealthy? Do you reduce or lower your standard of living because you're in retirement? No. Retirement is supposed to be fun. So you must have plans to live in comfort during retirement. And please, the last point about wealth, share the wealth. And I'm sure we all know, the more we give, the more we get. I mean, it's a simple principle of life. Share your wealth. Give, 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 give. Charities, good cause. Don't hold back unless you don't have. But when you have, please give for a good cause anytime and every time. Sharon, how am I doing with time?
Perfect. We still have about 45 minutes to go.
Okay, all right. So these are some of the wealth sustenance initiatives we can take whilst we are able. Life protection. Life protection is all about insurance. Surround yourself with insurance. Education for yourself, for your children. Health for yourself, your spouse, your parents. Life, if anything should happen to you, from active employment, out of nowhere, you're unable to work. Funeral policies. How do you want to be buried when you passed on? Funeral policy is a big thing now. Put something in so that you know you are living the world the way you really want to live the world. A lot of us don't want to hear about that, but it's some of the conversations we have with our clients that is good to plan for that day as well. Generational wealth, something big on the agenda. Wealth is not just about us. What are we leaving for the next generation? What are we building? What are we putting aside for someone to look back on and say, oh, if it wasn't because of this woman? Retirement planning is big. You must know about it. You must plan for retirement. Succession planning, all the wealth you are gathering, who will take over? Succession planning is not just an organizational HR thing that must happen. That organization must know who the next CEO, MD, or HR manager will know. All the wealth we are got, all these properties we have, all the land, who knows where they are? All the investments we have, who knows where they are? How do we want that to be managed for us? And who must do it? So appointing an administrator must be on our minds every time. Somebody must know where your everything is somehow. Somehow. Stewardship. It's not just knowing the name, but the person that you know, how would the person care for it? You love your car so much. You clean it so well. You can't imagine anybody else driving your car. It's your space. It's your personal comfort. But if you can't move that car, somebody will have to move it. So who will take over? Endowment funds. For those who are not sure of who to give what to. Endowment funds is something you can put aside to support charity needs. Somehow we all give. In the year, we all give out a lot. If we all sit down to think about how much we give out, I'm sure significant number of us do about 100,000 in a year. Church giving, year group giving, charity on the side. So what about setting up a fund? You have that 100,000 in the fund and it's managed. And all you spend out of that fund every year is the returns on it. If it's 15,000 or 20,000 you make on it, you tell yourself that is all I want to spend for the year. When you do that, then the engagement with your groups is sustained beyond you. So there's no time in the year that you say, because you are broke, you can't continue to support the cause. So endowment funds are big consideration as well when it comes to wealth creation. Of course, charities and estate planning. A number of us don't think about wills. But when it comes to will, the moment you acquire your first assets, you put your first will together and you keep upgrading it every time you have new assets. So estate planning is big on the agenda when it comes to wealth creation. So there's no point creating all the wealth and you don't have any plan on how it is sustained beyond you. But these are very deep conversations that require some significant considerations for all these packages to be put together. And when it comes to our space, what we do is to engage with a lot of external professionals, such as lawyers, accountants, and any group of people that can help to structure some of these packages for individuals. Now, for those of us in the bank now who are looking at private wealth management as a career, this is a reflective point for us. Because I understand the bank has prestige banking, which is equal to private wealth management. So if you are interested in this space, there are a number of things you must keep in mind. So this is for those who are looking at it as a career. So these are some of the products and services we offer under private wealth management. Investment advisory, financial planning, portfolio construction, asset selection, portfolio management, portfolio reassessment, because we engage with the clients on a quarterly basis. We share a lot of investment opportunities with our clients ahead of closure of such opportunities. So that our clients are usually ahead in the market. We report on clients' portfolio. Of course, we do a lot of things for our clients, which falls under concierge services. Because wealth is not just about us managing your money for you. It's everything about you. Wealth creation is wealth management is everything about the individual, your comfort. So we engage a lot in getting some personal solutions for you for a number of things you want to do. So this service is a very engaging profession if you want to get into it. And the success of the practitioners in this space is all about relationship. Relationship management is very key to be successful in the space. Very critical for us now is client onboarding. Because wealth management, as I keep saying, is a long-term relationship we have with our clients. So you must know your clients so well. And when it comes to regulations now, there are a lot of details in our KYC documents that the clients must fulfill for onboarding. And you will know all of this. And it becomes imperative that you have very deep conversations with every client before they are onboarded. Because these are life savings, these are future aspirations of individuals, and they're entrusting it to you and your institution. So the conversation must be very deep, and the clients must understand what they are signing up to. For regulations now, there's a lot of disclosure we must make. One is politically exposed clients, the other is a source of funds for the person. And the client must know that some of this information could be shared with the regulator. Very critical for us, it's also to understand, the investment objectives of the client. It is very important. You must understand exactly what the clients want to do and why they want to do it. So the onboarding can take quite a while. Sometimes it could take about 6 months of in and out, in and out, in and out before you sign one client up. So it's a lot of patience. You don't rush the decision making. These are not clients that are giving you 200,000 for 6 months and they want it back. No, these are not the type of clients we are talking about. These are people who are telling you, I want so much in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. I need help to get that done. So the onboarding can be quite a long process, but the recommendation is for us to remain patient. We don't rush the clients, and we take our time with whatever we need to do for them. What is critical at this point is letting the clients know everything they are signing up to, especially fees. You must disclose every fee the client will have to pay. It's very important. You don't surprise clients in this group. You must let them know everything before they come on board. So that is for the client onboarding. Pay attention to the KYC, and you pay attention to their investment objectives. When it comes to the asset selection and management, the point I made is that age is very critical. We look at age below 30 years in making some investment decisions, age up to 40 years in making another investment decision, because we all say life begins at 40. Between 40 and 50, you really have pension on your mind. So it's very critical for us to be mindful of what we do for you once you are 40 and above. So when it comes to asset selection for the practitioners, it's very important that we don't ignore age in making investment choices for our clients. And every investment choice we make must be informed by investment objectives. What is the person looking for? Growth, income, preservation? What else are they looking for? Or they just want to put their money away in something? We must understand the investment that will influence the assets that we select. Very critical is the risk. When you sleep, you must sleep as a wealthy person. You must not be afraid to lose your money. So understanding the risk of the individual is important. Is this someone who can afford to lose all their money and life goes on? Or this is someone who can't even afford to lose a cedi out of their investments? Very importantly also is the tenure of the investment. How long is this relationship going to be? The recommendation is 5 years and above. 10 years and more is great. Because if I have 10 years, I can buy into a bond that is 10 years. But if I have only 2 years, I am very restricted to what I can do to you, for you. So the longer, the better, and the choices that are made. Finally, we look at client maintenance and value creation. Without a client, you don't have a business. You have no reason to go to work. And without value creation, the client will leave. So what do you have in place for retaining your clients? And I have only one sentence for this. It's all about relationship management. As I keep saying, it's a very patient service we offer. It can be very exhausting, but it's exciting too. You build such professional intimacy with your clients. These groups of people are very excited when you make money for them. But the tables can turn. When you lose money for them, you begin to see another side of them. So how do you ensure that you sustain the value you give to the clients? It's all about relationship management. You must understand what it takes to care for this group of people. It's very, very important. So, I am at the end of my presentation. I would like to take some questions at this point. I think a few questions have dropped. We'll look at them, and I'd like to take some questions at this time. And we'll all conclude together on what we have heard, what we have learned, and what we are moving away with. Sharon?
Thank you so much, Doctor. I mean, this has really been insightful. You know, we've always had the mindset that wealth is always what we have in our bank account. And that even if we earn or we are being paid 5,000, 2,000, 10,000, I think it's never enough. Not paying attention to the fact that every personal asset that we have is part of our wealth. So from tangible to intangible, every part of it has to be planned and has to be planned with timelines. So even before you ended, I've had people saying that, do you have a presentation? You would like to have a presentation. At least it's something that has been a very insightful and mindful thing. And it's good on the advice that you've given our colleagues, those who want to take it up as, and be investment bankers, want to take it up as a career, and what they have to look out for in terms of having to plan towards it, in terms of the education, in terms of where they have to start from. That has also been insightful. And it's interesting to know that we all have to have our own personal balance sheet and have it all written. We usually have it all in our minds that, okay, and this is my cost and I have to pay this, but to sit down and actually have it all written or get somebody to speak to who can plan with us and say, with the very little you have, yes, you have a car, you have, those of us working in the bank, you always want to take a loan, you have a mortgage, you have a car note, you have personal loan, you have, forgetting that you need to balance it right so that in future, just in case you're out of a job, you're not settled with debts, but then you have a balanced personal income that you'll be able to, at every point in time, balance it with. And it's also interesting to know that this will definitely not be the last time we invite you, because there's a lot we need to learn. I mean, you've told us there has to be generational wealth, succession planning, we need to plan everything. And it's good to know these things, because as we walk in our daily lives, we always think, oh, there's more time. Oh, I'm not retiring now. Oh, I have 20 more years to go, but time flies. And it's good that we can all sit down and plan from day one. If we want to retire well, if we want to be comfortable in our retirement and not having to wait for what our kids will give us when we are grown or calling them to send us money, but at least the very income that we have, we get to plan it well. So we're so thankful to you, Dr. Puplampu, for this initial engagement you've had with us. And I'm sure we'll take questions from our panelists and then also questions from our attendees, so that you can further enlighten us on whatever ideas we have or how well we can plan our lives. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I've seen a couple of questions. So there's one anonymous attendee who says, I earn 5,100 monthly as income, and then the other side income of 300 Ghana cedis. I have 4 children. I'm 40 years. My salary is increased between 300 to 500 yearly. Please, can you help me with how to invest and also build my own out of this salary? Okay. So at least it's hitting home, and she's thought about it. She needs to plan, and she needs to start planning now. What is the advice you can give her?
Do we have, okay, so there's no name as well. What I would say of this call, that the information you have given, it's okay, but it's not sufficient to make some determination in terms of what you need to do. You need to engage with a financial planner on a different level for a sit down, for a proper analysis of what needs to be done for you before recommendations can be made. So if you're open to it, you can reach out and I'll recommend one for you to speak with, because it's not enough to just pick your figures as you have mentioned what your inflow is. You haven't mentioned your expenses along the way. So we can't just take your income and make decisions based on your income. We need to know the other side as well before some informed decisions can come. When it comes to investments, the whole idea is not to make an individual overstretched when it comes to their spend, because you have to be comfortable as well. And what we actually recommend is that put away what you can comfortably put away. Investment accounts are not like current accounts or savings accounts that you keep checking your balances every day or every now and then, or you keep going in and out to even check if the investment institution is still where they say they are. Every day you call the fund manager to see if they are still over the phone. So the idea is for you to put away what you can comfortably put away, so you don't come back to it in 2 months, 3 months, when you are signing up to something for 3 years. So I'll recommend to this person, please reach out. I'll arrange for you to have an engagement with a financial planner. Then you can begin to put something proper for yourself and then your family as well.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So I have a question also from my head leader, who says, what advice would you give to staff who have plans on proceeding on early retirement to establish their own business?
It's good to have entrepreneurial agendas. It's good. And I admire people who do that. But you must tread cautiously. Our space is not one that things are planned or aligned for us in ways that we do not anticipate. Just going through registration alone at Registrar General is the first level of stress when it comes to starting your own business. Dealing with GRA and SNET is another level of stress you must understand. Knowing who you can engage with in terms of support, because you're not going to do this business by yourself. You can't provide all the solutions for yourself. Even if you're an accountant, a chartered accountant, and you set up your own firm, you need somebody to be preparing your accounting records for you. So when you are starting a business, the support that you will need, IT, accounting, marketing, anything, these are things you must be very clear about, unless you are going to run your business from your boots and you are not looking at scaling up. But when you are looking at scaling up, it is good to take your time. And I always say that there is no rush. You must be prepared that you are going to be off salary for 2 to 3 years, because you make those sacrifices at the start of your business. You can't pay yourself because you have things you have to care for. So don't rush the decision, plan it well. And I would recommend collaborations is the way forward. All the ideas are not in your head. Look for partners whichever way. I'm not requesting for partnership as we have as a partnership business, but look for somebody you can work with and collaborate for success, because it's tiring doing it all by yourself. So put those plans in place before you make the decision to exit. And when we exit formal employment, please let us remember to continue paying our pensions. A number of us leave formal employment, we start our own business, and we stop paying SNAIT. If you do that, you surprise yourself. You are 60 years, you go to SNAIT, and they tell you haven't earned 180 months. So you are not entitled to pension. So it's very important. Now the years has been reduced from 18 years to 15 years. So it's very important that there are no gaps in your formal employment, that you have accumulated 15 years of formal employment and 180 months of state contribution. So these are things you must know before you branch out and decide that you are cutting yourself off the world and you are going to be on your own. So it's good to plan. I like people who have such ideas on their mind, but please be very patient about it so you don't regret. That's my recommendation.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So I have another anonymous attendee who says, as a young man in Ghana, aside entrepreneurship, is it really possible to be financially independent using the various investment products on the Ghanaian market, given that the return on investments are relatively low, vis-a-vis how much we can invest?
So is this person saying they just want to live off their investment returns?
Yes, please.
Is it possible to just live off your investment returns? Yes, it is possible if you have put sufficient away very early in your life. When you start, the ratio is 10% of what you earn. But as you grow, the ratio increases. By the time you are approaching 60 years, from 50 years, the ratio is now 40% of what you earn. The ratio changes because as you approach pension, you need more liquidity during pension. When you are young, you have other people that support you. So 10% is sufficient. You are living in your parents' house, you don't pay rent. You are not married, so you don't have family support, you don't have children. So everything comes to you. So your liquidity needs are very limited. But as you grow, your liquidity needs are more because you also begin to have dependents. So you can live off your investment returns very easily. You know, that is the true life after 40. You are not doing anything. You are just taking your returns every month and living off it. But that requires a lot of sacrifice in the very early stages of your life that you put a lot away.
Okay. I have another question from an anonymous attendee who says, please, can I know the types of business to engage in alongside my banking career, aside investing in mutual funds?
There's a lot we can do. There's a lot. When it comes to having side gigs, my recommendation is that do something you're passionate about. Do something you love. Do something that you are so creative with, that it is not a stress for you and it's not a competition for what your role in the bank. So whatever you engage in on the side should not compete with your attention for your role. So do something you love doing. If it's engaging with younger people, it's beats, you know, it's clothing design, anything you love doing, you need to find that passion yourself. And, you know, you are teaching, anything that excites you is what I recommend. It's very difficult to say, go and do this particular thing because you're in full-time employment and it's important that you give your full attention to your employer as well, so that whatever you do on the side does not compete with your employer's time. So the best is to do things. If it's a shop you have, anything, find the love for anything. You want to begin to train people in doing certain things, whatever your love is, You have to find that yourself. Nobody can help. You have to find that love yourself and see what economic benefits you can get out of that on a monthly basis. Hi, Sharon. It looks like, okay. We have some hands up. Okay, all right, Sharon. I lost you a bit.
Yes, please. Okay, so I'm back. I had a couple of people raise their hand. I was trying to find out if they could type their questions so we could spell it out, because I can't unmute them. I want to know from our panelists if there's any questions that they would like to ask or add on to our insightful discussion.
Yes, Sharon, thank you very much. I have a question.
Yes, Theo.
I want to find out from our CEO, what advice will you give to staff who have plans on proceeding on early retirement to establish their own businesses after retirement?
Okay, so Theo, she literally just answered that.
Okay.
I'm sure yes. So we'll take this after, and then we'll probably let you have a discussion with that after. Okay. Thank you so much. Any other panelists, please? Mr. Lamidi, is there anything you'd like to tell us or add to our discussion set?
Okay, Sharon.
Yes, Samir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
First, I have to thank Dr. Suzy for the wonderful presentation and the insight he has brought into this topic, wealth management. I'm a chartered accountant, but from what I've heard so far, I think there's a lot for me to do after this interaction. I got to know the importance of having a yearly personal financial statement. Even though I do preparation of accounts for the bank for my organization, I also do for other people outside. But for personal one, I'm not sure whether I've already thought of it. But from this discussion, I think it's what I've been doing for organization as well for other banks. I should be able to do it for myself and see whether I'm actually growing wet or getting wettier. So I think it's one of those the takeaway from me in this discussion. I also learned that there are some investment opportunity areas that you mentioned, and then the associated risk. So I look at those investment opportunity. I'm an accountant once again, but most of those things that you mentioned, some of us are taking it for granted. And I think it's something that everybody should look at, especially those of us that are just starting their career. Yeah, then the other thing I want to really emphasize based on this on the presentation is those rule of wealth. We are think wealthy, get wealthy, get wealthier, and stay wealthy as well as share your wealth. I think those are fundamental principles that everybody should perhaps go and frame and put it by your side so that every day you will be seeing it and you'll be living with it. Because it's what you see every day that will tend to reflect or resonate with you. So that's advice that I will give. But I have a small clarification which I would like Dr. Suzy to throw light on. For the upcoming ones, how is the relationship between spending on personal development, especially for professional certification, further education? How does it relate to personal wealth development or personal wealth. Because when she did the presentation, she gave us a balance sheet, she gave us a P&L, but from all those balance sheets, perhaps I didn't see anything intangible, which some of us will be looking at. How is personal development or spending on personal development will also be part of wealth management, if it can throw more light on it. Thank you, Sharon.
Oga, thank you very much, if I can call you Oga. If you were on the call from the onset, my opening remarks, I mentioned that wealth creation is not just about cash or investments. Wealth has to do a lot with our knowledge, our skills, and our behaviors. Because wealth is all about who we are. So knowledge gathering through personal development, professional careers, investment in your personal self, how you engage with people, public speaking, everything. That is wealth. When you have knowledge, you are a resource to be reached out to. And just giving back in terms of educating, just giving back in terms of mentoring, just giving back in terms of coaching, it's wealth. That is generational wealth. It's intangible, but you are beginning to impact so much because you have acquired so much knowledge and you are sought after. So in the balance sheet, we had school fees there anyway, but a line item we can introduce, it's support for our financial or personal, professional interest. So it's a good point you have mentioned, but wealth is beyond just cash or investment. Wealth is about us, who we are, and what we are able to give back through the knowledge that we have acquired over the years. So that is my response to you. So knowledge is very critical. But for me, skills and behavior get it. How you connect with people. It's so important. People must remember you for who you are and for what you say to them and how they feel. People must always remember you. And for me, those connections leave a longer impact on people than cash.
Thank you so much, Doctor. So we'd like to take a question from CRO, Mr. Mohammed Ozan.
Yeah, mine is a question and comment, but I'll take the comments first. First, I want to thank you, Dr. Suzy, for the very insightful expose on the subject matter. It's quite deep and insightful. I'm more educated on that aspect by attending this section. So thank you so very much. When you were listing the assets that we can invest or that are available to us to deal on in the process of wealth creation, there's an asset that I think we also need to emphasize, and that asset is the one that God has given us freely, which is time. God has given it to us freely and equally too, because everybody has 24 hours of the day to his or herself. And therefore, it also depends on how you invest that time that you have on your hand. It's also a major factor in wealth creation. It's my little addition to what you have shared today. The other part is then the question. What is your view about investing in cryptocurrencies? So as a wealth manager, I would like to know that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you too, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. And thanks for your addition in terms of time. You are right. We all have 24 hours. We all have 7 days in the week. So how are we putting our time? Everybody has the same time. When it comes to time management, the best is scheduling. You must plan your day, you must plan your week, you must plan your month, you must plan your year. And the plans must not remain in your head. It must be on paper. And what you need is to surround yourself with people who will be checking up on you and be asking you questions. You say you do this in 3 months, by March, by June. Have you done it? Why haven't you done it? So you need to find your own or surround yourself with your personal council of elders, people you have conversations with about your career, about your personal aspirations, about everything you want to be and what you want to achieve in 12 months. And allow those people to be accountable partners in your life. That is the only way you can help manage some of the time issues. If you leave it for yourself, it becomes very difficult to track. When it comes to crypto, if you notice through my slides, I mentioned about day trading and alternative investments. These are speculative instruments which are highly classified as risky. You must understand them very well and decide whether you are doing it by yourself or you are doing it by people who have positioned themselves for those markets and understands the ups and downs. When it comes to our market now, we have a regulation called the Sandbox Regulation. And all these regulations are for all these alternative investments, which are typically reserved for speculative trading. So crypto, you can, but for regulation, these are not financial products we advertise in the offers that we have for our clients, because there's still a lot of talk about the regulation. Now we have the commodities exchange. So there's something to refer to when it comes to derivatives, holding assets that are backed by commodities. We are not there yet with regulations for Bitcoin or crypto and the others. But it's an instrument, it's an area that we are all still thinking through and remaining very, very open about. So you are free to explore if you want to, but you must understand the risk that it exposes you to and be very ready for it. So it is something you should know about. So that is where the world is going. So you must know about it, but very strategic about how much you put in. And for us, it's diversification. If you have sufficient in others and you have some in that as well, your risk is minimized.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for an insightful and Mr. Zama, I hope Doctor has been able to explain.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. I think I'm fine. So
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Sharon. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We'll take the last question, Doctor, and then we'll have our MD probably say something so we can wrap up the session. So the last question says, coming from an era where many fund management companies have collapsed, how safe are our funds with these fund managers? That's one. And what should we consider before we choose a fund manager of mutual fund? Should we believe the returns they publish?
Well, there's been a lot of cleanup in our markets when it comes to fund management company. And I want to believe the numbers that are left now have sufficient in terms of governance structure and capitalization to support them. The regulator is not easy on us these days. They are very tough, especially when it comes to compliance. When it comes to knowing who to go to, my recommendation for you is to visit the regulator's websites and check who are active and who are not active. The other way is to ask around. That is what I keep talking about, network. You must know others who are doing something. Ask around, ask about a number of them before you decide. And when you are even deciding, going to one and having a conversation with them is not the final point for you to make a decision. Go around and be very comfortable. When it comes to mutual funds, something we must understand about mutual funds are independent of fund managers. Fund managers are promoters of mutual funds. Once the funds are operational, they take on a legal entity on their own. So the mutual funds have their own governance management structure. That is why we have all the mutual funds still running, even though some fund managers' licenses have been withdrawn. So the only way to know what the mutual fund is doing is to look through the annual reports of the mutual fund. That's why it's important that as a shareholder, you attend AGMs to understand what the assets of the funds are. And those assets must also match what the custodian has, because mutual funds decisions are also based on custodian relationship. So you must check all of this and be very comfortable. So don't just use the returns on the fund as advertised or announced to make the decision about selection. You must understand the objectives of the fund. If those objectives of the funds meet what you are looking for. If it's a fund that is purely investing on the equity market, so this is an equity mutual fund, is your risk profile aligned with equity investment? If it is not, they look at something else, a money market fund or a balanced fund that is aligned with your investment objectives. So these are the steps you take in deciding who to align with and who not to align with. But you are secure. It's a highly regulated space. We are on top of what we are doing. Compliance is key. Licensing is tough. Investment rep licensing is very tough. You can't give investment advice if you are not licensed by the regulator. And we have CPDs that ensure that we remain very relevant to the market and to our clients.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And as we wrap up, I would like to give a very heartfelt thank you to you. And I know that this won't be the end of this discussion. This is just the beginning, because there's a lot that we need to learn about. We need to have engagements about succession planning, generational planning, pension, which you said, I don't want to touch on that now because there's a whole topic on its own. Exactly. So we'll definitely would like to invite you sometime this year to give us more insightful knowledge about these areas and what we need to do so that when the time comes, we won't be found wanting. So once again, we'd like to say thank you, Doctor. And I'm sure my colleagues would love to have your presentation. So I'll send them. And then we would, of course, I'll send your community your number as well. So we can reach out to you for our own personal investment planning. Thank you so much. On behalf of FBN Bank, we are happy to have had you, and we are glad that you were able to take us through. Thank you so much.
I would love to share my last page of my slide, just to conclude before MD speak. And it's my own quote, and it says that there's a greater loss in missed investment opportunities than actual losses in investing. There's a greater loss in missed investment opportunities than actual loss in investing. What I mean by this quote is that don't stay away because you are afraid to lose money. What you will actually lose is far, far less than what you will lose if you didn't take the action at all. So this is to encourage all of us who are afraid to take the next step when it comes to investing and creating wealth for ourselves. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm very happy about the engagement and the questions that follow. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Lovely. Thank you, colleagues, and thank you, our premium customers who joined us today. It's been quite insightful, and it's good that we've had this talk. This won't just be the beginning, but then we will try and have more of these sessions so that we can all be insightful about the way to go and where else we're going, how to plan our lives, and how to give back to society in terms of wealth creation. So we're once again thankful, Dr. Puplampu, and we will definitely call you back. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Sharon, I think that settles that for us. I'm just this is just to wrap it up and say thank you once again, Dr. Puplampu. Very insightful discussion this afternoon for both our staff and our clients. We are grateful. We've picked a lot of things. For some of us, like you said, we've already missed opportunities. And therefore, we have lost money by not taking opportunities. But hopefully for the younger ones, they'll go and take the opportunities now. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I'm sure we do have some, we never have enough, but I think the issue is just try and squeeze something out of how little you have to put away in your investments. And I think that trick is what then becomes a very big one, because if you are waiting for that big one before you invest, then you are never going to start. So I think it's very important that we always try and squeeze something to start something. And like you said, it's always the most important thing is that you must start it, and no matter how small, and not wait. So once again, it's been a very useful 2 hours with you. We thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you soon again, Dr. Suzy. On behalf of my colleagues, on behalf of staff, on behalf of customers, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Thank you, Doctor. Bye.